Thank you so much for joining us, Simon. Always lovely to chat to you. There's so much going on in the United States and across the world. Why are Donald Trump's tax returns important?
Well, they're important because the public hasn't seen them, and Donald Trump is the first American president since Richard Nixon not to furnish tax returns to the American public as he seeks re-election. He, of course, didn't put them in the public domain back in 2016 either. He has gone to the mat legally to try and keep his tax returns and financial records private, and he has suffered today a pretty overwhelming defeat at the hands of the Supreme Court, which by 7 votes to 2 has ordered the president to hand his financial records over to prosecutors in New York who are digging into possible financial irregularities at the Trump organization and very much probing Donald Trump's inner sanctum from a corporate perspective as they seek to build a criminal case against his company. That means that the financial records have now to be furnished to those prosecutors. It doesn't mean they'll end up in the public domain, because prosecutors are not expected to publish them unless and until they use them in evidence against President Trump. On a second case that was before the Supreme Court, Democrats in Congress wanted to get their hands on the president's tax returns, and they, of course, would immediately have published them. The Supreme Court has sent that case back to a lower court. So on that second issue, the president didn't win an outright victory, but he at least delayed the possibility that anyone anytime soon outside the prosecutor's office in New York will see the tax returns.
So surely then it's a win for Trump, because those tax records are not going to be revealed before the November presidential election, and Congress is not going to see them anytime soon either.
Well, he's definitely not viewing it as a win. He has taken to Twitter to insist that he is on the receiving end of unfair treatment by the Supreme Court, which of course includes 2 justices that he nominated and appointed. They turned against him in that 7-2 ruling. He says he's the victim of prosecutorial harassment, a prosecutorial witch hunt that he essentially is now accusing the Supreme Court of being part of, because for Donald Trump, it would have been obviously extremely unfortunate for his tax returns to become part and parcel of the presidential campaign.
Sure.
He has headed that off, you're absolutely right. But for those records now to end up in the hands of those dogged prosecutors in New York, that's got to be an enormous worry inside the White House.
And in other news from the United States today, the court transcripts of the body cams that all the police wear, those have been detailed now, and this detailing the final moments of George Floyd's life, what he said, what the police said. What can you tell us about that?
Yeah, it's absolutely devastating to read this transcript that has been culled from the body cams that were being carried by the police who were trying to arrest George Floyd, who of course died after one officer's knee was placed against his neck for 8 minutes and 46 seconds in Minneapolis. The body cam footage shows that George Floyd used the phrase "I can't breathe" not 6 or 7 times as we'd previously understood, but more than 20 times in all. He called out for his mother and his children. He gasped, "They'll kill me, they'll kill me." At one point, one of the police officers shouts back at him and says, "Stop talking, stop yelling. It takes a heck of a lot of oxygen to talk." I mean, these transcripts are going to be devastatingly powerful tools in the hands of prosecutors who have brought second-degree murder charges against Officer Derek Chauvin, the policeman who had his knee on George Floyd's neck. And they underscore the fact that in the minds of so many people across the country, the treatment that was meted out to him as he was being arrested for suspected use of a forged $20 bill was so completely disproportionate to the alleged crime that he had committed that this once again puts a focus on the treatment of black suspects at the hands of non-black police officers.
Absolutely heartbreaking. Thank you very much. Simon Marks coming to us live there from Washington.